Alright, you guys, so Barcelona survived a scare against Levante, staging a comeback from 2-0 to win 3-2 away in match day 2 of La Liga. And there's so many things that happened in this game that we need to talk about. But first, if you don't know me or you've been watching my videos without subscribing, hey friend, hi, I'm Just Max, and on this channel I talk about football from the La Liga to the Prem to the UCL. And on this channel, of course, is always going to be Vizca Barca for me because I am a Barca fan first and foremost. So if this is something that you're into, please feel free to hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment in the comment section. I am building this channel brick by brick, okay, and I would like to hear from you. But let's dive into this. I have been trying to make this video for a bit now, but I had to take a moment to steady myself because I was so heated. My temperature, my breathing, everything in this game was so chaotic, so erratic that I needed a moment to collect myself to be able to give you a full breakdown of what we saw in this game. I feel like I've arrived at a moment where I am almost zen. So let's get into the formation that Hansi Flick put in for this game. Oh my god. So once again, we did see Juan Garcia in goal for Barcelona, and then Alejandro Balde reprising his role on that left-hand side of Barcelona defense. Pau Kubasi and Ronald Araujo have been Hansi Flick's preferred centre-back pairing this La Liga season. Of course, remember, Inigo Martinez is no longer with us, and Eric Garcia comes in again for Koundé. Now, I'm starting to hear that it might look as if Koundé is not match fit, which is why Hansi Flick has been managing his minutes and starting Eric Garcia instead. We did have an addition to the Barcelona family. Frankie de Jong welcomed a new son, a new child. Not really sure if it's a son or a daughter, so a new child to the family. So he was away on paternal duty, was given a week off. So in his stead came in Marc Casado, partnering with the all-consistent Pedri for us in midfield. We did end up having a front line that looked like Marcus Rashford on the left, Rafinha coming in that 10 position, and Lamine Yamal on that preferred right. And of course, Ferran Torres leading the line, with Robert Lewandowski now on the bench. And immediately from the first minute of the game, I thought that it was going to be one of those games. Those ones where Barcelona huff and puff and huff and puff, but the opposition stand firm in a low block defensive formation. Because make no mistake, Levante came with a backline that looks like 5 defenders. And at some point in the games, within that first 10 minutes, they had all 11 players or all 10 players of Levante's team in the, I want to say, lower third of the Levante defense. So it was very, very difficult for Barcelona to make a concrete attack, right? Barcelona did have a good chunk of the ball, yes, in that first 10 minutes, that first 15 minutes, but mostly it was Levante throwing bodies in between them to prevent that from going in. Now, in between all of that, what I started to notice was Levante was sitting deep, waiting on the counter, looking for opportunities to break Barcelona's high line. We see the way Barcelona defend under Hansi Flick. It's that high line up onto the halfway line, and sometimes it just takes a runner who is very good at bending that run, waiting for the right moment for it to be a good one. Now, Levante tried it a couple times within that first 15, but of course they were caught offside by Barcelona, and I think at first they even had the ball in the net, but it was offside. However, they did manage to crack the code when a runner just in between his own, he makes the run from his own half, and he was all the way into Barcelona's half, takes the ball running. There is no defender at home, and of course we're trailing back, trying to recover as quickly as possible, but he plays a very, very good ball. There's nothing that Juan Garcia could do about it. Would I have loved the save? I would have, but the player, sensational. I can't even fault it. It was a very, very good run. Levante, they clearly have watched a lot of film on Barcelona, so they knew what they were doing. It was not a mistake. Of course, for me as a Barcelona fan, I did not fret, I did not worry, because I'm used to looking at Barcelona, that high line being broken. But I know the quality that we had up front going forward. So I knew that we were always going to make chances of our own, and that we will always, try and create something. I would have to give credit to Marcus Rashford. In that first half, he was moving really well, although most of those movements were not resulting in the end result that we're looking for. But I wanted to highlight that, because he's a player that has been under scrutiny and is in a new team. But in terms of movement, he was moving really well. In terms of Lamine Yamal, though, I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I felt this last week and I felt this week. I feel like defenders are starting to catch on to his skills, his preferred dribbles. For me today, that one-on-one battle with Sanchez in Levante's defense, who was marking him, he did not have a good time. I have to be honest. He did not have a good time. He could not complete, within that first half anyway, he could not complete a take-on or a dribble past him. Every single time that Lamine Yamal tried to do something extra, that defender was on him like Donkey Kong. Now, as I say this, I must highlight that Levante were absolutely disgraceful with the pitch that they provided for this match. Yes, they employed a dark arts. Yeah, they did, because the pitch was so overly watered. At some point in the pitch, it looked like a puddle. Like you could see puddles. It looked like a swimming pool. They had overly watered the pitch, obviously, to try and slow down the ball, so that Barcelona's tiki-taka would be a little bit slower. The Barcelona passing will be a little bit slower, because of course the ball traveling from one pass to the other is going to be hampered by water. So that was a little bit of the dark arts. Nothing illegal there, but very, very disgraceful. So that also may have played a role in why Lamine Yamal's dribbling thingies were not giving what need to be gave, especially in that first half. All of that to say, the big moment comes in when Pedri squares a ball for, oh my days, for Ferran Torres, and Ferran Torres makes a mess out of it. This would have been an opportunity for Barcelona to come in and become 1-1. Fantastic opportunity by Pedri. I live for Pedri. Pedri, oh, sensational. Where would we be without this man? He makes that diagonal line breaking pass, and Ferran Torres, maybe he was a little bit surprised that he found himself in a situation where there was no defender on him, or there was way too much time for him to figure out his shot against the Levante goalkeeper. And instead of like taking his time to place it, he just hits it and he hits the bar. And I was screaming. I was livid. I was shocked. And I was like, if we end up losing this match, I am going to have nightmares about this miss. But that first half was only going to get a bit more dramatic, because it got crazy and crazy quickly. Now, if you've been watching my short form content, you probably have seen a content of me crashing out. Oh yes, that was because at the end of the first half, Levante ends up getting awarded a penalty, and I cannot believe myself. I am besides myself with what I'm watching on my TV. I had thought that Balde had done a wonderful recovery run to make a double save and prevent Levante from doubling their advantage. Now, to provide a bit of context, as I have mentioned earlier in this video, Levante were cracking the code. They were able to spring another offside trap on Barcelona. They break the code. They're running up onto Juan Garcia. Balde puts on the speed and he goes on to protect the goalkeeper, makes the first tackle, sensational stuff, gets back up very quickly to defend it again, because the ball goes to the Levante player, at which point he hits the ball. Now, the ball hits Balde and then goes out. If it hadn't even hit Balde, I felt like it would have been something that Juan Garcia would have been able to handle, no problem. Here comes the moment that had me flabbergasted. It's like I'm waiting for the match to restart or for halftime to be blown, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing that we are reviewing some things in the VAR, because apparently the ball had hit Balde's arm on the way out, so he had made a turn on his body and it struck him and it went out. And then they showed repeat, and I still believe up till this moment that never was that a penalty. Why? Because Balde did not have his hands outstretched. He just didn't, right? It was within his body zone and the ball was literally struck onto his arm. We saw a similar situation with Aurelien Tchouameni when Barcelona played Real Madrid. The difference was Tchouameni had his hand outstretched, but the referee on the day felt that because it was struck within such close proximity, it was deemed not to be a penalty. So imagine my flabber being gasted when I hear the referee has to go to the video, go review the situation, and this referee comes back after watching the replay, and he gives a penalty to Levante. I'm beside myself. If you watch my short form content, I posted one there. Please go watch it. It's the most like me in my rawest form. Or if you want to watch other content of me, of course, go follow me on TikTok. I also post content there. But if you've watched up until this point, please leave me a like, leave me a follow. Let me know what you're feeling, how you felt in this moment of the game. But one thing I knew for certain, two things for sure, I was beside myself. I was literally exhausted with La Liga because of the disparity in the calls, right? Last week we saw Kylian Mbappe stand on a player, get awarded a penalty. This week we see Balde literally defending the ball. There is nothing he could have done. The ball was struck to his arm and it was attributed as a penalty. It's like the disparities again with that Aurelien Tchouameni situation comparison, which I'm now learning according to the internet is the same referee that blew in both cases. I was flabbergasted. I'm tired. It's really hard, in my opinion, being a Barca fan, watching this league, because sometimes you just realize like there are calls that are going to go against you. You just have to be open to that idea. You don't have to be upset. But today I just couldn't. I was upset. I was like, how do we see this over and over again? How is this disparity okay? Like, I was beside myself. I was screaming. Again, don't get me wrong. We're down. We should have gone into the half level. We should have been 1-1 if Ferran Torres had scored that delicious pass from Pedri. But then we did not. So I recognize our fault in that situation. We should have done better. We did not do better. We made a mess out of it. I accept that. Levante, they did fantastic work in the film room. They studied the video. I cannot fault them for that. But going 2-0 down into the half was something I could not accept, only because that was not a penalty for me. And I will stand on that. I don't know what you guys think, but I would love to hear about it in the comment section. Of course, the penalty was dispatched by Jose Luis Morales. And if I were to criticize Juan Garcia's, goalkeeping of that penalty, even though he guessed the right way, I felt like he was a step too late. That was why he did not defend that ball. He should have gotten it. He just was a step too late. So this is a learning moment for him. He can do better. I know he can do better. I don't know what Hansi Flick said to the boys in the locker room, but boy, do I love my coach. Because guess what? When the second half comes in, Barcelona are firing on all cylinders. And for this review, I am wearing my Pedri jersey, because where would we be without the maestro that is Pedrito Gonzalez? Like, where would we be without this magician? He brought Barcelona from the brink of despair. He brought us back from the brink of defeat, and he single-handedly turn this match around. That shot from the edge of the box, I wonder why people keep leaving him unmarked. At the edge, Pedri has a shot on him. He scored those on many occasions. Does he like to pass? Yes, but if you let him, he will. And on the 49th minute, when I tell you he put the laces to the boot, it was one of the first shots from a Barca player in this game that had the right levels of power. Because don't get me wrong, they were shooting, it just lacked power. And this one, the power he put behind it, it carried through, and I live for it. I said we were so back. The Remontada FC is here, and we're doing things. And 2 minutes later, a corner kick, wonderful, delicious delivery from my Ballon d'Or, Rafinha, and of course it's 2 It's 2-2. Like, we're literally back. A header a flick of the boot from Ferran Torres, and Barcelona are back. We're loaded and we're in for a cracker. And let me tell you, I was excited because this is the stuff we're made of, right? I think that this team, they really like to chase a game. They really like to play when they feel like they are hard done, when they feel like the odds are against them. They become their best. They enter beast mode, and they were playing some delicious football. Now, I have to stop and actually make a criticism here of everybody. Last week, after that Ferran Torres goal, everyone made a talking point out of the fact that the defender was on the floor, and we saw the impacts of that today. It's not everything that is a scandal. I need everyone to agree to that, because now we are seeing the dividends of that. Because I don't know when heading a ball becomes a head injury, because on 2 occasions, maybe 3, in this game, we saw situations where if Barcelona's attack were about to develop and Levante needed a break, what happens is a player goes to the ground. It was a situation where a ball was played in, he heads the ball, goes to the ground, and is rolling. Literally. And of course, the referee, being so aware of the discourse that was happening last week, cannot take the chance, right? So he stops the ball. It's essentially stopping a potential Barcelona attack. A second situation that I remember vividly was when Robert Lewandowski has come into this game, because we did see a feature from Robert Lewandowski. He comes into this game, the defender is all over him, they collide with each other, the defender falls on the ground and starts rolling. The referee, in my mind, I don't think he initially blows, but the ball goes out, comes back in, Robert Lewandowski does a couple of dribbles, gets taken down in the box. But guess what? The referee blows, but because the player is down and not because Robert Lewandowski was taken out. Now I realize that we have unlocked a new tactic for wasting time or for stopping an opponent's attack, which is, when in doubt, roll on the ground, because then they have to stop. And that was a very clear, very clear development from all of the Ferran Torres goal discourse against Mallorca. But anyway, I digress. Barcelona will continue to attack, and at this point, I want to really take a moment to applaud the diligence of the Levante players. They really defended as a unit. I think they would have been content going into the end of this match with just like a draw or something. And honestly, it would have been fair for them to end this match with a draw, because for all the hard work that they put in, they deserve to take something out of it. However, Lamine Yamal will have the final say. He puts in a delicious ball into the box. Again, that was what our attack was reduced to at this point, because Levante was defending so well. So it was reduced to throwing balls into the box and hoping for something, right? And this was one of those moments. He puts in a very, very delicious ball into the box, and then the Levante defender who was trying to head it away heads it into the net and its own goal. Suddenly, Barcelona have survived a major scare, come back from 2-0 down, and are staring at a win. And honestly, this is the stuff we're made of. I'm starting to get used to this thing. Like, when Barcelona are down 2-0, I'm not really too bothered. However, I would like for us to not play like this. Actually, I would prefer if we actually win from the start. Now, just before I wrap up this video, let us look at some of the statistics to show you how intense and how much Barcelona created and how well Levante defended, actually, because at the end of the day, I think like it was a great game from a footballing perspective. When you take away the dark arts, the water, the referee penalty, or the rolling on the ground from the Levante players to it was a good game. So from both teams, Levante had 9 shots against Barcelona. They scored 2. So you have to give them their flowers for being very, very clinical. From Barcelona's perspective, they had 30. So they were piling it on. Like I said, it wasn't that they weren't shooting. Sometimes they shot very well, but it just lacked the power that needed to carry through. On target for Levante was 6 shots. So again, they scored 2 out of the 6 that was on target. For Barcelona, it was 13 shots that was on target for them out of the 30. So intense stuff. Now, Levante manager said he did expect Barcelona to have a lion's share of the ball possession, and indeed they did. They had 82% of ball possession, at least according to Google, and what 94% of pass accuracies. But what I wanted to note is the offside trap. It was trapping, because even though yes, those 2 goals came because they managed to break Barcelona's offside trap, but in total Barcelona still managed to catch them 6 times offside. So like, we just need to perfect it a little bit, and that's the final talking point that I want to talk about before we end this video, is to say that yeah, our defense needs work. This game was reminiscent of that Barca Inter Milan game. You know, I want us to do a little bit more better in terms of like our defense. Every time that Levante pushed up, and they didn't push up very often because they were under pressure, but every time that they had the opportunity to push up, it looked very dangerous. The first goal from Levante was a Kubasi mistake. You know, I love me Kubasi. If you watch my video long enough, I love Kubasi, but it was a mistake from Kubasi. The second time was the high line being broken. So obviously there's opportunities there for teams to exploit, especially now that teams have like a full season of film on the hands of Flick, and of course now a couple of games in the sophomore year to review. Like, we need to tighten that shape up. That's right now where I see Barcelona being a little bit vulnerable. But all in all, I am excited. I am so happy that we were able to win this game and win it well. Like, you can't take it away from us. We did so well. But this has been my thoughts on this game so far. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. My emotions are still just coming back into regulations from everything that we saw in that match. But I want to know what you thought about this game in the comments. And of course, if you like my vibe and you like Barcelona, or you like football in general, whether it's La Liga, the Prem, or the UCL, please hit that subscribe button. And of course, you want to check my short form video content as well for some of the things that you probably missed. But until next time, bye guys.